Hello and welcome to the Aurion learning course on a very important aspect of aviation safety, Emergency Response Plan or ERP.
In this course, we shall learn about the need for ERP in aviation, the genesis and framework of ERP, the duties and functions of each stakeholder in different emergency situations,
The role of an airport and its ERP in the case of an accident, the role of airline operator and its ERP,
the role of the ground service provider or ground handling agency and their ERP, the role of government agencies and their ERP,
the role of each stakeholder in hijack situation.
the role of each stakeholder in bomb threat, the emergency plans of the various stakeholders.
Let us start with our first module, where we will understand why the aviation industry places such a high value on an ERP.
Let us start by looking at the contradiction in aviation. Flying ranks as one of the safest modes of transportation in the world because the standards of safety are so high and there has been so much invested in technology. The safety record of the aviation industry today stands at less than one hull loss in 1 million flights, and it is steadily improving. At the same time, it is possibly one of the most dangerous activities in the world. Human beings are put into an aluminium tube and taken to impossible heights in the company of highly combustible fluids.
For this reason, people have an inherent fear of flying, and there is a general perception that in case of an accident, the chances of survival are non-existent.
Due to this, and because airlines transport people of various nationalities across geopolitical borders, it is also an attractive target for hijackers and terrorists.
There is a clear understanding in the aviation industry that no matter how high the safety standards, the system and technology is created and managed by human beings, and is therefore not 100% foolproof. Mistakes do happen.
We have also learned from experience that trying to find ways of dealing with an emergency after it has occurred is counterproductive and, in most cases, corporate suicide. It is also true that accidents and incidents involving aircraft invite negative media attention, which does not help the aviation industry in any way. These are the reasons why we have in place a specific plan to deal with various kinds of emergencies should they arise.
This is what we refer to as an Emergency Response Plan or ERP, and is an essential part of civil aviation to ensure that stakeholders are not caught off guard in any situation.
Accidents and terror threats by themselves are situations that cause anxiety and grief. But the way the emergency is handled has far-reaching impact on not just the concerned airline operator, but the industry as a whole. The role of the ERP is to define a set of procedures to deal with the aftermath, not just logistically, but also compassionately. We will look at the scope of ERP in greater detail in the following modules.
Professor, accidents and terror threats are the most obvious reasons for ERP. But that is not the only reason airlines have an ERP, right?
You are absolutely right, Professor. The other reason lies in the definition of the word emergency. Shall we have a look at what an emergency is defined as in a little more detail, Professor?
Of course, the Oxford English Dictionary defines an emergency, a serious, unexpected, and often dangerous situation requiring immediate action. An emergency is also defined as a situation that is one of the following: immediately threatening to life, health, property, or environment, have already caused loss of life, health detriments, property damage, or environmental damage, have a high probability of escalating to cause immediate danger to life, health, property, or the environment.
Well, Professor, what is clear from these definitions is that an emergency is not necessarily an accident, but any abnormal situation that has the potential to disrupt normal proceedings and/or poses a danger to human life, health, property, and the environment.
Let us take a couple of examples to illustrate this. Let us assume that there was an air crash. The ERP would be deployed immediately for rescue activities, dealing with passengers' families and the media, arranging for medical attention, and so on. Parallelly, the airline would have to find ways of operating their other flights with one less aircraft in the fleet. There would also be legal, compensatory, and other issues involved, along with air crash investigations and procedures.
Let us now take another example. Suppose a dog were to find its way across the airport perimeter and reach the runway. The presence of the dog poses a potential risk to incoming and outgoing aircraft, as happened with this flight in Indonesia. Besides, modern-day jet engines are powerful enough to suck a dog into their turbines and cause damage. So, unless the dog were either caught or driven out of the airport, it would bring aircraft activity on that runway to a complete halt.
So we see that we have two incidents entirely different in their nature and magnitude, but for both there would be an ERP in place. In the first case, because the situation had already caused damage and destruction, and there is a need for damage control and mitigation. In the second case, ERP is required due to the potential to spiral out of control, resulting in a cascading effect of delays and disruptions, and maybe even an accident.
What the aviation industry realizes is that although accidents and other emergencies such as terror threats are far more catastrophic in their consequences, the frequency of their occurrence is relatively low.
Incidents which are seemingly minor and far more common and can play havoc with airline schedules, causing loss of business and goodwill all around. It is of equal concern that procedures need to be set to handle these as well.
To summarize, the stakeholders in aviation need to prepare a plan to deal with any kind of accidents or incidents which have the potential to cause disruptions. This is called an Emergency Response Plan, or ERP, and lays down guidelines on how to deal with the various aspects of an emergency, from search and rescue to passenger and relatives' expectations to managing media and legal issues. Most importantly, it also lays down guidelines for normalizing operations in the shortest possible time.
With this, we come to an end to our first module, where we have understood the need for the existence of an ERP in the aviation industry. We will be back in our further modules, where we will look at the framework of ERP and how each stakeholder devises and manages their ERP. Thank you.